Hey, guys are live. Good to go.
Okay. Well, let's, I see for the roll call for the members of the committee that we have Zeke and Joe, myself. So we have 3 out of 5 currently attending. In addition, we have Paul Bauer, Bill Zoffler, and we have Sheena Hall. And Kate, what's your last name, Kate? I apologize.
Banizak. That's okay.
Zach. Okay, apologize. So that's who we have in attendance. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I believe that we should start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we all start with that, that'd be great. You all there?
Yep, we're here.
Here we go. Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God.
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Thank you. All right. So the first order on the agenda here is actually the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
I move that we approve the agenda. I have no problem with it.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Falls to you, Joe.
Second.
There you go. Any comments or conversation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we approve the agenda. And then for first on the agenda as well, did you all have a chance to review the minutes of, let me just check real fast here. It was the Tuesday, November 1st committee meeting that was distributed. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes?
I did not receive a copy, so I didn't get a chance.
Okay. We probably will need to wait then to approve the minutes. I will make sure they're sent out again in this email. And I think, Kate, they're posted on the website. Is that also correct? No, they're not.
They are
not
not. We
posted-
wouldn't post draft minutes.
Draft until we approve them. Okay, so I'll
Right.
send the committee and then we'll work on that. I will take minutes for today's meeting. So you guys will get minutes from both meetings and then the next one will approve both of those.
Okay.
All right. Discussion of current financials. I believe those were sent around. I sent those around as well. And Sheena and Kate have posted those on the website for the current month. I don't know if there are any questions with regard to the current financials. Bill or Sheena, any comments you'd like to make on those financials?
From the town, they are where we thought they would be. Sheena did a really good job looking at where we thought our revenue would be coming in and what our revenue would be going out for this time of the year. Sheena, any other comments?
There's really nothing to say. I mean, we've gotten very lucky on some of our revenues and we've been able to keep our expenses right in line. So we've been doing good.
All right, excellent. Joe, Zeke, any other questions or comments on the current financials?
No, not for current.
Okay. Well, then let's turn towards it says the 2023 budget. I apologize. This is me where I've been working on my budgets for business, which is 23. It's the town budget for 24.
24,
So
right.
that should really say 24. So I apologize. I, can only think so far ahead. But let's go into that presentation. And I believe that you all should have received a copy of the proposed budget that the town put together that was sent to the commissioners. It was posted on the website. I distributed to the group here. In the budget and in the subsequent commissioners meeting, there were some approvals by the commissioners relating to the budget. One was the approval of the lodging tax going from 2% to 2.5%, and also the approval of the parking going from $2.50 to $3. And I believe again that, excuse me, is estimated to have an impact of about $8,500 to $10,000, depending upon exactly how many people we have parking and whatnot. So those two items that were proposed have been approved by the commissioner. So to my knowledge, we don't have any conversation about that, but I'll open it up to the committee to see if you guys have any questions for Bill or Sheena with regard to the budgets.
Joel, do you want to go first? Do you want me to try give a shot? I'll go ahead and ask then. I'll go ahead. I got a couple pages of notes here. Rather than go through everything I had that was line by line, I'll go through the fact that first off, 48 pages is a lot of stuff to go through. I like the first part where it's like, here's all the income, here's all the expenditures, to find out that some of this is getting into the weeds big time, which probably should be just set aside for the most part. But some of the big questions I have are on page 13 of the budget. We have a bunch of blanks that I wasn't quite sure how to fill those in. Under general funds that we had, I'm looking at this here for fiscal year town hall other. We had $501 listed for fiscal year 2023, and we have $1 million listed for 2024. That's a big jump.
That is, we have to recognize the expenses that we are going to accrue this year for the
New town hall.
the new
Right.
town hall development.
I understand that part. That should be under grants right now. That's money that's not coming out of a budget. That's
It-
coming out of grants that we're getting from the state and from the federal government.
We still have to recognize the expenses. Under government accounting, you have to recognize the expenses, and the revenue right now is sitting as recognized, and it'll be recognized this year as we bring it over.
So if we're getting $3 million from the state and roughly 1.6 from the federal government, how does that only go from $501?
We're only getting the 3 million from the state, Zeke.
What's that?
We're only getting 3 million from the state that was awarded. So the federals, who knows, at some point maybe, but not sure at this point.
Okay, so we're still $2 million missing if we're getting 3 from the state and it's only listed at 1.
Because we're only projecting 1 million of expenses this year. We're not projecting the whole 3 million of expenses in the first year.
Right.
But I also see when we got grants that there's absolutely zero money in the grants column at the very
There-
beginning of all of this.
We've already received the 3 million. It's sitting as unrecognized revenue. And
Which
on
kind
the
of
balance
goes to the first point I had is we've got 48 pages and there are so many different places to put things. It would be so much easier to put, here's our income, here's our expenses, here's where we got them from, here's where they're going to, as opposed to COVID revenue, some of the other things. Those are all
Right.
nice to know, but
Hey,
Right.
we're
so
getting
Zeke,
into
this
weeds.
is, yeah, so Zeke, I think, Sheena, if you could a little bit, this is the first year, I believe, that you've been converting the budget to a municipally reporting structure as recommended by the auditors. And
Yes.
and
That's
why-
correct.
That's why the format, Zeke, has changed, and that's why there's so much detail. This is now gone to municipality reporting. And Bill or Sheena, if you want to add anything.
Well, like I said, I think it's wonderful to be able to find these things. It's also a gigantic hindrance to try and find these things. If I can't find $3 million in 48 pages and you guys just go, boom, it's here, it's there. And I'm like, I'm still not finding it.
we received.
Having
the
been a
money.
previous councilman and dealt with the budget for 2 years, it was, maybe this is a new way to do it. I'm not going to say it's better or worse. I'm just going to say it's way more complicated than I think it needs to be. But then again, if this is the way it's supposed to be, then it's something I need to study even more, which I thought I was doing a fairly good job of.
Well, Zeke, as a town manager, we've worked hard to try to work with our auditors to come up with the best way to proceed. This is what they're suggesting to us. We worked hard with Gary Persinger on this new layout, new formula, and this is what Sheena thought would work well for us. And I should have probably explained some of that at the very beginning, but she did go through, and we did ask each one of the department heads to provide us a short write-up on why they need what they need in this year's budget, and that's in there also, whereas in the past that hadn't. So Zeke, that took up some of those pages that you're referring to, but it's hard for me too to look at this compared to the way we've done it. I've only been here going on 2 years, but once I sit down and I know where to look, it's made it somewhat easier for me. But with your question of, we got 3 million, how come we're only showing 1 million? That's a legitimate question, but this is the way they want us to do it, and Sheena's been able to put it together. The commissioners will have an opportunity to look at it. They'll hear what you have to say and what the other committee members have to say about maybe there's too many pages, maybe this isn't the right format. But this is what the auditor suggested to us. So for right now,
Right.
this is what we're going to try it.
Yep. Well, I don't know if this is possible, but if I can make a suggestion, like Zeke, that's a very, because I noticed that as well. And the goal is that this is very transparent and the public knows exactly every penny that we spend and where we spend it on. Is there a way to, and I guess my question would be for Sheena and Bill, is there a way to footnote something like that is going to look just really strange to people? Like, all right, you went from 5,000 to 1 million.
So
And
we
just
could,
put a little-
we could do just like we did with the department heads,
Mhm.
put another page in there. And I know we've already got a lot of pages, but we could explain about, hey, we got a $3 million grant from the state of Delaware. This is
So
where
you'll
it's
notice
showing
online, whatever.
this year's budget, right? We could do that, if that'll help.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that answers the question. We got 3 million. It's going to take 3 years to spend the money. So we're going to spend 1 million this year, 1 million next year, and 1 million the following year. And there's the grant money used up. Now, if we only spent one of the 3 million, it looked like we're $2 million ahead, but we got 2 more years to go of expenses, and that wouldn't look right either. So.
No, what we used to have with the plus and the color coding, yeah, we have red and black here, which is obvious, but before the budget, I think, Dan, what you'd given us earlier last year in the end of the summertime we first met, we had some extraordinary numbers that had fluctuated with like a green or a yellow and something. It kind of jumped out at you and you could look at it and go, okay, let me study this a little more. Here, if it's only red, only black, like you say, town hall other, $501 even in fiscal year 2023 and 1 million for proposed budget 2024. They're both in black. And if you just kind of gave it a cursory, I could scroll through this without even thinking about it.
Right.
And never catch it.
Good point.
So if that's answered, we have 3 million, we're going to spend 1 million. Probably I would put it under the grants that are blank at the very beginning of this budget proposal. Then again, I'm not the format person. This is not my forte, but as someone reading it, that's probably what I would do is say, we have 3, we're going to do 1 million this year, 1 million next year, 1 million the next year. We do have a grant and this is where we're going to spend it in the next 3 fiscal years.
The grants listed at the beginning are grants we're expecting to receive. We have already received that money. It is sitting in a bank account.
Okay, but I don't see anything in that column up at the beginning. It says we've already gotten it. So that's where my question is I've already taken up 10 minutes of our time trying to figure out we have it.
I think Zeke, I think to your point, we could either add a column or we could add, like in the beginning where we talk about our budget, we could actually highlight that about the $3 million. So that is a big deal, right?
Perfect.
It is.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, here's a question. We do not show the 5 million we have in Brown Advisory anywhere. Do I need to explain that we have that also?
I think it might be good, Sheena, to put that somewhere in here saying, yeah, we also have 5 million in Brown Advisory. Yeah. Yeah.
Question.
Oops.
When we're ready, I have a question.
Go for it.
Sheena, did I hear you correctly that the $3 million has been received?
Yes, it has. It is in its own bank account, has been since, I think, September or October.
What are we earning on that bank account, $3 million?
We are not earning anything because we are set up in a government program within the bank that we have lower fees. Any interest we would earn offset all the fees that we would receive. So it's just sitting there.
Losing money.
Technically with inflation, yeah.
Versus what Brown Advisory is doing, it's not losing money.
Hey, got a question. Is that required by the state to do it that way?
We have to have all grants in separate bank accounts.
All right, but
Can
it
we
doesn't have to
do-
be in a
can we
zero
do
bearing.
10-year, can we do 10-year, 10-year treasuries? 3.25%.
We have to be in a bank account that can be specifically traced what goes in and what goes out so that when the state audits us, we can explain exactly where we spent the money. That is for all grants.
Okay.
Zeke, do you have something else?
Yeah, a couple other things. Maybe these are just house cleaning items and I'm not sure, but went through investments for losses and gains under 404-0100. And I got that we've lost $51,000 or $48,000. We've not gotten anything in investments in the past year.
If you look at on the website, under the financials, you will see the Brown Advisory reports every month, and they have been losing money.
Well, like I said, I'm looking on the main budget that we've got here, and I thank Dan for putting this out, that I find it hard. We've not gotten one dime out of all the money we have expended, all the money we have tucked away into different investments at all. That's what you're saying.
The Brown Advisory money has lost more money in the stock market this year than it has earned.
All right.
And Zeke, it might be partly just a timing issue of when that is reported, right? Because the market was down pretty heavily during that period of time.
Understood. It just finds out of every single bit of investment we have and all the different places we have it tucked away, that nothing, not a single account came into positive.
Well, they may have come into positive, and Sheena, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the overall that we lost, or is it for the individual investments, Sheena?
That is the entire.
The overall. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Well, I guess for purposes of budget, we shouldn't be looking at stuff that we have like the beach fund in. I mean, that's, we can't really use that money for anything else but the beach fund.
It is strictly allocated for beach fund, but in the government-wide accounting, you have to show those funds. They are listed on the overall thing at the back as beach replenishment fund, and you will see where it has been losing money.
Sheena, offhand, can you point me what page that's on? Is it the very back one, the last one?
Yeah, there's the presentation.
I'm on page 48.
Okay. Hold on, I'm looking through everything again.
I'll go with, since you guys are looking at that one, one of the other quick questions I had was transfer taxes. 4,100 was the 400,100. We're looking at $700,000 or $750,000 again in transfer taxes. Paul, I saw what you had sent by the Coldwell Banker Jude or whatever it was. Looking at historically, we can never rely on transfer taxes. We had that big problem in 2008 when the market took a crap with sales. But it seems that we've gone up in transfer tax for proposed 2024 rather than.
No, it's only listed at 500.
Yeah, I think we went from 750 to 700 last year. I mean, we still got a couple months left, but
Yeah, but we're only listed at 500 this coming year.
and I think we budgeted 500. I read that too. Page 43. 41.
Paul, I didn't include the entire thing in here. I thought I had. I can send it to you. It's another very large document, but I can also send you the summary sheet I can send any of you the summary sheet for Brown Advisory.
No, I just think if we need to follow the government standards, we probably need to include it in this report then, right?
Okay.
So if I could answer Zeke's question, so in the 2023 budget, which was this year, Zeke, we budgeted 700,000, and we made that.
Bill, I actually transposed a number. My fault with accommodations tax versus transfer tax. That's my bad.
Okay, yeah, so, transfer, we're actually going down. We only think we'll get 500,000. That's what we think for next year. Now, for accommodation, we went up by $75,000.
No, I see that, and like I say, my bad for transposing. I was thinking accommodations and transfer. I just dyslexia, I guess, is a horrible thing, but no, that's perfectly in line. I have no problem with that. A couple other things when I saw things like how many people we have for parking enforcement. I'm not in charge of hiring. I'm not in charge of how many people we have, but 15 people on the package for what we make in fines versus what we probably pay those employees. And I never saw 15 people for that particular ambassador job ever in Dewey Beach.
And you're right, Zeke. Last year we budgeted, we didn't reach our number, but we're budgeting this year in case we can employ that many. It's like our summer police officers. We're budgeting for 20 this year or 22. Last year we were only able to hire 14. So we want to make sure if we can hire that many, we want to make sure we have them out there. Parking for the town of Dewey Beach, as you know, is a big revenue piece for us. And if we can hire that many folks for parking, we'd like to have that many. We want to be able to monitor our parking till 1 a.m. We have a really tough time getting enough people to do that. So we're hoping by hiring more people, we can split the shifts up and get them till 1 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, what are the other? I mean, I had a million little questions, none of which are going to solve anything. They're all more just like you say, budget things. This many people versus this many people. This
Sure.
many dollars versus this many minuscule numbers. I'm not going to go into those. But the other big question I have is something we just had this weekend for public safety donations. I had 0 on the budget. When the town gives the money for the cops and for the lifeguards, like the Dewey Beach Gala this past weekend, where does that fall into public safety or lifeguards or police department? I couldn't find or differentiate. And I know we had 1 or 2 years we couldn't have the gala for COVID. Last year we did have it, but I couldn't find where it went.
I don't know if we got any funds from them last year, the one this past year. I don't know. Sheena?
We did not.
Okay, that explains why I didn't see it then. So
But we didn't want to budget it for this year in case, we didn't want to say they were going to donate a couple $1,000s to us, and then they ended up not doing it. We don't want to force them and say, hey, give us so much money from the gala. So
okay, no, those are my big takeaways of, like I said, I got a bunch of little stuff that I'm not even going to delve into the weeds with this. This is all little stuff. Those are the big questions I had. So I'll go to Dan and Joel and Paul.
If you want to send me your questions, any of y'all, I can go ahead and answer them, and even the little ones. I mean, I've got to be prepared for the next commissioners meeting, because I know Paul's going to get me.
No, I think Bill's answer about, we budget for this many people for ambassadors. We actually try and get this many. This is how many actually show up. This is how many we try for. I think that's a great answer for a lot of the little questions I had that were here. So I'm not gonna go any further than that with me.
I
Okay,
have a couple questions, please.
bring it on.
Sheena, you offered to send the Brown summary sheet. Could you send that to my email address?
Yes, sir.
Does anyone know what we are paying Brown for a advisory fee?
It comes
no.
out of the things, doesn't it, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, that's all been handled separately. That's part of the investment committee that addresses that, not the budget.
Who's the chair of
But
that,
yeah, I mean,
Paul?
it's public information for any citizen to get too. So,
Who
we
is the-
got small returns being conservative, and although we didn't make any money, we probably didn't lose as much as others. I haven't looked at it. I don't look at it religiously, but I look at it occasionally.
Paul, who's the chair of that committee?
The chair of that, the liaison would be Elizabeth Gibbings.
The chair is Brian Prever.
Yeah, but the liaison, we sent it to Elizabeth to keep her in the loop on it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Joe?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Hey, I just, if I could chime in for a second here, when I'm anticipating we're going to have some discussion here at our commissioner meeting on it. And I guess the biggest question, and just for all of us to discuss publicly here, is how do we rationalize a budget of 500,000 for the transfer tax? And I just think we need to have, that's a big portion. So I'm going right to page 39 and the first line on there. Accommodations tax, that looks like that trend is still going to stay the same. Hotel tax, cable TV franchise, et cetera, et cetera. Those are, but that's the $1 million question there. So, if we miss that by, let's say we get 100,000 and not 500,000, that's a $400,000 swing and a miss. So.
Well, Paul, one of the things I'd like to talk about, and to answer that question inadvertently, is to say, one of the things that I'd like to talk about here is most of the fees and or licenses have not been increased since 2012. And if you looked at the cost of living and brought those current, and then as Sheena would like us to do, make sure those are whole numbers, I think that generates upwards of like $190,000, which helps to offset some of the risk of transfer tax. Because I think your point's absolutely well taken. How do you project what's going to happen with the economy? It could be a 2008 again, and we're going to miss by $500,000. But I think we can put some things in place and bring those, again, make a recommendation to the commissioners with regard to the taxes and licenses and bring those current for 2024 inflation since 12.
Yeah, if we can write those up and if we can quantify each of those, I think that would, obviously wouldn't go into the transfer tax budget, but it would be, some numbers that I think that's a great way to do it.
Kate, do you have the exhibits that Sheena had prepared that you might be able to put on the screen? It's not every license or every tax that we have, but she had some case studies on, or use cases rather, and scenarios that we could talk through.
I don't have them. Sheena, if you do, you can just share your screen.
Yep. It's right here. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. Make sure there's nothing on here you don't want to see. How do I do that?
If you move your
At the-
cursor on the bottom, it says share screen,
Oh, there it is.
and then you'll pick the whatever window you want to share.
There we go. All right, this is the commercial. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that is the commercial license fees. On the far left, you'll see the categories, the current rate, and how many licenses there were in 2022. A few of those, as far as the out-of-town ones, have gone up. Then I just took, Dan had given me option 2 where we were only raising a few. We can't do that. We have to raise across the board.
Which
The
would be
first one-
option 3, Sheena, right? If you did it consistently right across the board, that's option 3.
Yes, that is the one that brings it up to the CPI from 2012 till now.
And
How
then one
did
of the other
that
things,
number of 28% become the number?
it's compounded based on the cost of living from
Okay.
2012. Yeah. And then Sheena, if I'm sorry to interrupt you, but one of the things that we talked about in the previous committee was sort of parity and talking about the restaurants and bars in terms of what they pay for their licensing versus some of the costs associated with it. And Sheena's got in there, I think when the first couple pages shows those categories, the revenue we receive, and then the expenses. Clearly that's a loss. So if you looked at column H, 11 and 12, and row 11 and 12, restaurant and bars, the idea here was, should we raise the per seat, regardless of the conversation about the cost of living, should we try to raise the seats to create a little bit more parity with the revenue generated from the bars and the restaurants as in relation to the expenses we're incurring with those bars and restaurants. So this was something she and I had talked about in terms of the potential raise it. Now it's 150%, and it takes it up to $15 per seat. And Sheena, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is the current seat capacity. It does not include some of the expansion the commissioners approved with the outdoor seating. So that number is probably a little bit higher in reality.
Correct. You are correct, sir.
So what's the committee?
I'll go out on a limb and ask with COVID kind of over, but everything in the cost of living being in the 9% range, fluctuating as it is, if the commissioners or the town manager would maybe have an informal meeting with the restaurant people and go, this is a giant seat increase, and knowing that you're operating on margins the way they are, asking if it's what a fair increase versus what we are proposing, that may be a conversation that needs to be had over a cup of coffee with some folks, because the smaller the venue and the larger the seat cost is, may push people to the limit on some places in town. I'm not saying all of them, just maybe some of the smaller venues.
Good point, Zeke. Yeah, I mean, I think we should, as the committee, I think you guys should make some recommendations of, would you like to see option 1, option 2, option 3? Obviously, commissioners, you may want 3, and the commissioners say, hey, we're only going to go 2, or we're going to go 1, or we're not going to go any. But that at least, you're making a recommendation, and then whatever recommendation you make, let people know what that process is and come to the meeting and weigh in on it.
And from my perspective, I think option 3 makes sense because it's been, this will be 11 years that these have not been increased. So bringing them current makes sense to me, and I would be in favor of recommendation for option 3 to the commissioners. And I think we can have, that does generate, 12,000 incremental, or probably maybe 13 total
Right.
for the restaurant and bars. And then again, the commissioners could say, is that enough or not? They can have that conversation. But from my perspective, I would recommend that we recommend to the commissioners option 3. Zeke or Joe, any thoughts?
I like, only because I hate the way the beach tax is implemented on everybody, with everybody having a million different ways of when they bought their house, what the price was, what their increase is, what their flat rate fees are. I like a flat rate right across the board. I just want to make sure that we're not pricing anybody out. I'll go with Dan. I like option 3. It's easy. It's the ability
Right.
to say, this is why we're doing it, because we haven't done it since 2012. And these are the prices that they would come up to are fair. I just don't want it to be so fair that we hurt some businesses.
That's true.
Dan, I'm in favor of option 3 as well.
Okay, and Zeke, I hear you loud and clear. And I think if you look at these and broke them down by individual restaurants or bars and whatnot, it's pretty small in terms of the impact that's there. And I think that's another schedule I sent to you all in terms of looking at the impact and the analysis there.
Yeah, I mean, just to say, and not that I'm particularly picking those out, but you have the Rusty Rudder versus, let's say, Dewey Beach Country Club. I mean, vastly different numbers of seats. One can easily absorb it by the amount of volume they serve versus the other. I just want to make sure that we don't hurt somebody.
But plus also at the same time, we've expanded everybody's seating. So there's a number that's going to grow anyhow. It's just the cost per seat that's the one that we're going to vote on. I mean, if your seats went from 100 to 150, your business license is going to go up, 50% anyhow. So, or 33%, I guess, as you would look at that. But anyhow, I think we need to put these schedules out there and just make them public before our next meeting when we discuss on these things. These are going to be some of the options that we're going to look at and do it publicly.
Okay. So Paul, don't you think we need a recommendation from the committee that the committee recommends to the commissioners that option 3 be adopted? Is that what we should do? Okay.
Yep.
Do I
And
have
then we'll
some-
go, I mean, so business license, recommendation is option 3.
Okay.
What were we doing on accommodations tax? What were we doing on, what were the other ones? I mean, we already did parking and the lodging tax, so that those two are already done.
Yes, and I think you have that on the other tab. Before we do that, though, do I need a separate move or whatever
Or motion?
recommendation? Yeah, with.
Need a
for
motion that we
option
adopt option 3 as the Budget and Finance Committee to forward to the commissioners for their next meeting.
Second,
Okay.
There
Okay.
you go.
Since there are only 3 of us, it's unanimous. We approve. So we'll recommend option 3.
You guys are efficient. I'll give you that.
what's
There's not much
next, Dan?
discussion when there's only 3 of us. Yes.
What's next, Dan?
Glad we can't have any ties today.
What do we have on the bottom there, Sheena? There we go. Residential fee.
The residential fees, currently for 2 bedrooms, it starts at $142. And then for each additional bedroom, it goes up $11.
Can you put that up on the screen, Sheena?
It's
It
right
is.
up there.
Oh, let me see. There it goes. All right, let me click on that.
Okay.
All right, now I see it.
All right. Currently, there was 236 of the small ones. There's only one that is large enough to have more than 10 bedrooms. I was looking at taking the small rooms up just $8, make it 150 and add $15 a bedroom. Simple rounded numbers. That was where I started. If I take it up 28%, that's where you start getting into much larger numbers. The first bedroom goes up $40, the first, the bottom line, and then it's between.
But if I may on that one. So if you had a 2-bedroom, the increase for you is $80. Is that correct?
It's $40 increase.
So $40 for a two-bedroom rental. Okay. And if I have the massive 13-bedroom, it's $79 increase.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's option 2, if everybody understands that. So the increase per home would be column F there, the 40, 43, 46, and so forth. That would be the individual
Yep.
impact for each of these homes.
Is this per rental or per home over the whole year?
Per rental.
Okay.
So, sir, if you rent out your house and it's a 5-bedroom, it would go from $175 rental license fee you would have to $224.
Just once for the year?
Yes, sir, just like
Okay.
it is right now.
Nope. Okay. Just making sure it wasn't every single rental. So
Hey, Sheena, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I mean, so I mean, these are in different brackets, 2, 3, 4, up to 13 bedrooms, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why do we have different rates for different, I mean, could we just come up with a cost per bedroom? If you got 1 bedroom, it's, $10. If you got 100 bedrooms, it's 10 times 100.
Well, that's what it is right now. It's $142 the base and $11 a room.
Okay,
And what I'm saying is we adjust the base and then adjust the number of the dollar amount per room. So the third option is kind of a combination where we adjust, bring everything to 0 and 0 or 5 is the last digit, and it basically goes up not much different. There's only one person that's really affected. But based on the number of bedrooms, it's not really that much different. It's no different than the little guy.
I think the fact that this is basically a pass along, I mean, the owner of the home is going to pass his cost along, divided up by however many times he rents his house out to his tenants. This should really be a no-brainer and not a big deal to talk about.
Zeke, make a motion for option 2.
Make a motion. We accept option 2.
Second,
Approved, all 3 of us. There you go. And I agree with that. Option 2, I think is the right one. If you did option 3, you might have people who are objecting based on different percentages increase. Option 2 is just unilateral for all. So I think that's a fair way to do it.
Will do. Thank you.
Paul, back to you for a
Thank you for all the
question.
numbers.
Yeah, yeah. In the budget, for everyone, Sheena and Bill have in there a 6% increase for salaries other than the police, which is in budget at 10%. Paul, do we need a motion to approve, to recommend that increase to the commissioners?
It wouldn't hurt to do that. Bill, what do you think?
Yeah, so if I could just take a second, Dan, to explain that. So, inflation this year has been around 7%, CPI, cost of living. So we're between 6 and 7% for our admin employees and for our police officers. If you look across the board with the towns of Lewis, Rehoboth, Bethany, we are substantially still short of where we should be with our police salaries. When I say that, in some spots we're almost $10,000 less. And right now, when we want to compete for good qualified police officers, we need to be in the ballpark with them. This 10% gets us right there where we should be. So I would just say, please consider it. It's we would ask that you recommend that to the commissioners. We can go through the actual salaries of the different police departments if you'd like, especially with Lewis, Rehoboth, and Bethany. We can actually do those comparisons.
Sometimes
what do you
we run
think?
into a little apples and oranges when it comes to we let the cops take their cars home. Rehoboth doesn't. Lewis may or may not, depending on the rank, whether you're a chief or you're just a patrolman. I think you're going to have to go with, like you're saying, cost of living increase. You're going to have to go with what the salaries are. You're going to have to do tangibles that are right, easy, and everybody can measure the same thing by. And I want to make sure we don't just come up to what they are. I'm hoping maybe if you have a chance to go to Lewis, Rehoboth, Bethany, Fenwick, or here, is 12% going to be what we need for a quality person versus 10% just to come up to the lowest possibility?
Yeah, that's a good point, sir. We've been so far behind for so many years. For us to come up in steps, that's what we were trying to do. Last year, coming out of the academy, we had people coming out at 44,000 when everybody else was near 58,000. So we got it bumped up to 53,000. So we're moving in the right direction. Right direction. If we could afford a 12%, then I'd like to move to 12%. But to catch up, because we lagged behind for so long, we're taking these steps and talking with Sheena, and figuring out what we can afford, and then next year ask for a little bit more. That 10% puts us pretty close to where we need to be. So, for example, Rehoboth is going to be going to take-home cars here very soon. Bethany Beach is already at take-home cars. But they are our officers right now coming out of the academy are at 53. Their officers are at 61, 60, and 62 between Lewis, Rehoboth, and Bethany. So we're still
20% jump.
What's that?
Almost a 20% difference,
Right. So
50 to 60.
If we get the 10%, that's going to bring us right up in that ballpark of around $60,000. With the take-home cars, you're saying, Zeke, which is another huge benefit, and we do some other things on the benefit side that some of the other departments don't do, which also helps us try to even that up between the 60,000 and the 62,000. So, yeah, I'd like to go up 12% for our police officers. I just don't know if we can afford that when we're looking at transfer tax going down and some of our other numbers coming up. Fuel costs are going up. Things are just getting more expensive. But I appreciate your thought on that. Sheena?
Zeke, are you in favor of 6 and 10?
I'm in favor of that. I would love to have more, but like you say, I think it's a good cost that, with the cost of everything going up, cost of gas going up, cost of living going up, we're not bringing in the money that we thought we were. We're losing money on investments. Yeah, there's got to be a happy medium here. I'm assuming with, as Bill says, stepping it up, slowly but surely going in the right direction. Yes, I would love to be able to say, here's what we can offer you guys, but the magic wand is not as sparkly as it could be.
And Bill, you
Make the
think you could
motion, Zeke?
hire, you think you can hire with this 10% increase, right? And the other packages Dewey has to offer?
So, yes, I think we'll be more competitive with the 10%. And Dewey's a different type of policing than some of these other towns. Some of our police officers that may be recruited may want this type of Dewey Beach experience. Believe, as you know, our officers work very hard. They work, and I'm not taking anything away from our surrounding towns. All the officers, it's a dangerous job and it's harder now than it's ever been. But our officers respond to more calls during the summer. Our officers handle more complaints during the summer than some of the other towns, 2 of them added together. So, I mean, we really need to bring our officers up to the ballpark, and this gets us up in the ballpark with a 10%.
Yeah, I'm all, as Joe said, I'm for 6 and 10. I would love to maybe see 6 and 12, but I don't know overall what that 2%, how that's going to impact overall budget. But I'm definitely love to have more. So 6 and 10 works for me.
Second,
I also approve, so therefore it's unanimous. All right, 6 and 10, I'll have that down.
good job, Zeke.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions on the budget? I know we had a couple other topics,
Yeah.
general topics we wanted to cover.
So
Go ahead,
with these changes, Sheena,
Joe.
what number are we looking at from a balanced number? I mean, are we even on revenues and expenses? And if we are, what's the number?
Okay, here's
4
where.
million?
Here's where it gets a little interesting to present you a number that you're going to be able to relate to the past.
Mhm.
Since we have to show all the money that's coming from the grants in and out and the donations and everything, it makes the bottom line look higher.
Correct.
So without those, we're only going up about $500,000. In our
So we're
overall
going up a half million.
roughly.
So we were what, 3.9, so we're 4.4 now?
Yeah, I don't have the exact number. I've got I was waiting to see what y'all had to say about the fees and all, so I could make final adjustments.
Well, I just think we need to wrap this all up into one. Here's the ball. This is what we're asking the commissioners
Right.
to approve.
So I can get that, and then the set asides that's one of the things that Commissioner Persinger and I have been discussing.
Mhm.
Really, they don't count as our bottom line because of coming out of our bottom line, because they are just besides the 20% of the building permits, they don't have to come out of our bottom line. So it doesn't increase the
Right.
amount of expenses. That's something I think he's gonna bring to y'all.
Yeah, we talked about, a column in this budget that says, okay, this is what our general fund is. This is what set asides are. And, for Dan and Zeke, I know you're familiar with it. For years, we always worry about transfer tax. Even in the good years, we were worried about transfer tax. But what we look at now is that's our rainy day. So where do we, if we set aside 20% of building permits for this year, next year, one of those years you're gonna fall short and you're gonna need it. We started moving money into infrastructure for flooding. And then we picked which revenue stream that would come from. So these are the set asides, but almost like 2 columns. It says, okay, this is general fund. This is the set aside account that, and how many dollars will go into it. It's just a little bit more detail. And I just think it makes it eye-opening for everybody, because if you told everybody that we're going from 3.9 to 6.4 or whatever that number is, they're going to say, wow, that's a big jump. So just take it and just say, footnote it and just say, hey, there's $1 million of it's going towards town hall. This is where these are the grants that came in that we have to account for, et cetera.
That's once I have.
Sorry to create more work for you though.
I enjoy it. It makes life interesting in doing.
I think also, Sheena, if I'm right, the budget was showing about $170,000 profit. And with some of the increases we had on the taxes and whatnot, it should put us around a $200,000 cushion.
Correct.
Hopefully revenue over expenses. So that does go back to the initial conversation on the transfer taxes, $500,000. Who knows what's going to happen? But it does create a little bit of a cushion there. We got about 200,000 projected. Bill, did you want to bring up the topic that we had talked about a little bit last time on the event fees? I had event fees, and then I had the bidding process, or two topics. And not sure if the committee has a recommendation to the commissioners, but I thought you'd bring those up and we could see what they want to do.
Yeah, so we brought it up at the last commissioners meeting. So, and not that we have a lot of special event applications to come in, but in the towns of Lewis and Rehoboth, to process those applications, there's a $50 fee for those. And when I say to process those applications, what am I talking about? So we've made all applications now. You can go online and fill them out. So that makes it sound real easy. Okay. They come in, they go to our staff in the front, they come back to me. I review them. For example, 5K races, Dewey Goes Pink. Some of the bigger events we have in town. From there, it goes over to the police department after I look at it, put my comments on it. Then the police department will look at it. They'll give their comments and say, hey, you know, during that weekend, we're not going to be able to provide 4 officers. So then from there, we may have to call out to the state police, or we may go back to the vendor and say, you may have to look at another police department. But all that takes time of us going back and forth. If it's going to be an event on the beach, skimboarding competition, part of running of the bull comes down the beach, I have to send that over to Captain Fritchman. He has to look at it, make sure that he's going to have enough people, which he will, but he has to make sure that he cones off the area for the bulls to run. You know, for the skimboarding, we have to make sure, are they going to ask for nighttime police presence out there for security or not? Those are all things that kind of take time. So we were just looking at what other towns are doing that have a property tax, and we don't. And, you know, are we missing, even though it would be very small amount of money coming into us revenue, is it, you know, should we go to $50 to process those? And I think we should. Are there any questions about that before I move on to, you know, talking about bids on the beach?
Not for me.
So Bill, in essence, the recommendation is to have a processing fee for each of the events, a non-refundable processing fee.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, Zeke or Joe, any?
I very thoroughly explained. I have no problems.
And one more thing, if you think about it, we charge people $100 to get married on the beach, and they're only on the beach for maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour at the most, and we're charging them $100. And some of these other events are going on for days and take up hours inside our town, and we don't charge them when it comes to processing the event fee. We don't charge them anything.
Dan, I'd like to second Zeke's motion to approve the event fee application.
Second, do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, okay, and I'll be the third, so therefore we are unanimous. There you go, Bill. We'll make that recommendation for you.
What was that number?
$50, I think we said.
Yeah. And then the next thing that I spoke with the commissioners about was, you know, activities on the beach. You know, our concessions in the past has been Lynham, and, you know, you're beyond that might have been Cats. They pay a lot of money to have concessions on our beach. But then we have some other activities that happen on the beach, and all they do is get a business license. So we wanted the commissioners to be aware of that and just think about if we're going to let some of these other activities on the beach, for example, skimboarding camps on the beach. We have at least 2 of those every summer. Yoga on the beach. We have at least 4 of those that go on in the summer. Volleyball. We have a volleyball camp that takes up, you know, 2 to 3 nets, and it runs from basically May through August down on the north end of the beach. And they have about 60 kids participating in that. Those are all good, positive activities, but it's something that we just want the commissioners to think about. They're using the beach. They're paying a one-time business fee of $109, and they're collecting money off the beach. So I'm I'm not really asking this committee to recommend how much, but just something to think about. And then we've asked the commissioners to think about that. Kate's been working on it with me. Kate, did I miss anything on that?
No, I think you covered it.
And Joe, I know you got to go. I think the key here was some of the commissioners were saying, how do you establish the number of vendors for each, that might be skimboarding or number, whatever activity it is. So there was a lot of discussion about trying to, answer some of those questions first before then going on and talking about, again, how many applications you're going to have, what are you going to charge for a bidding process. So I personally, Bill, I hear you. I'm supportive, but I think there's still some things that we got to investigate and figure out to make sure that we don't have somebody come back saying, why do you have 2 skimboarding, but only 2 yogas? There should be 5 yogas and whatever. What's the rationale between the 2? That's the part that I think we have to figure out.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to explain why we're looking at this to your committee.
Right. And Joe, I don't know if you can hang one other topic I want to bring up, which is absolutely not for motion or anything else, which is not to get me
Yes.
shot or anything else, but just introduce the topic, which is the concept. And again, this is me thinking parity, which is we have people who use the Dewey beaches who are coming from the Forgotten Mile. They're either walking over or they're riding their bikes down and whatnot, using the resources. We're obviously paying for the lifeguards. We pay to clean the beach. We pay for all that. And we're not deriving any revenue from the folks who are coming from the Forgotten Mile. Again, if they're walking right across from, Silver Lake, Lake Comanches, there's not even parking involved. So not to be solved today, but it's just planting the seed on how we feel about that. And is there a way to create any kind of parity that there's a revenue stream associated with people who are coming in from the Forgotten Mile that we wouldn't otherwise have any revenues from?
Yeah. I mean, we also get buses that drop them off down in Collins or on Van Dyke Street too.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I don't know the
So-
answer, and I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
which beach tags, but I think I think it's a conversation that we can look at any kind of mechanism. I don't have the answer. I just wanted to bring that up because I know there's been a lot of conversation about parity with the restaurant and bars and what we get from them versus the cost. Here's another one where the equation's not balanced.
It almost maybe sometimes you have to spend $1 to make $1, or you suck up the dollar to make the dollar. If we have people coming to use our lifeguards and our beaches for free, they may stay later, go to the bars, go to the
They have
restaurant.
lunch.
Maybe that's where that money that goes for the charging for the seat comes into effect. They're actually increasing the ability for the bars and restaurants to pay for that increase that we're asking.
Good point. Yep. Yep. Like I said, I don't have the answer. I don't know what it is. I just see them because I'm on Chesapeake Street. So I see the flow nonstop of people coming down and, going over to the beach there. So it's just something to think about. All right. Any other topics for today?
No, I'm not here to pump up anybody and put the sunshine up their skirts or whatever, but everybody, wonderful discussions from the town hall to the commissioners to the committee here. Thank you guys very much. Very informative and I think a profitable afternoon.
Great. I would agree. Thank you guys from the town. You're doing a great
Yeah.
job. Really appreciate it. So with that, can I have a motion
All right.
to adjourn?
Well, hey, if we could just wrap up. So there's going to be,
Yeah.
so what's going on the next agenda here for budget for what attachment? So what I wrote down was the business license schedule, option 3,
Correct.
combinations tax, option 2,
Correct.
event fee, and the salary increases of 6 and 10.
That is correct.
Those are the 4
that I had.
schedules that we want to discuss and vote on at our next commissioners meeting.
Yes, that's the recommendations from the committee. Yes,
Yep, and then an overall budget, right?
that's correct. Yep.
All
Okay.
right, yeah.
All right.
Well, if that's enough. I recommend that we conclude the meeting.
Second.
Okay. Third, so it's unanimous. Thank you all. I appreciate everybody's attendance. Have a great day.
Dan
Yes.
and Joe and Zeke, thank you for your support. We greatly appreciate it here at Town Hall. Thank you.
Yeah,
Our pleasure.
yeah, thank you, everybody.
All
I'll
right, guys.
write the
take care.
minutes and circulate them to everybody.